Chuck, could you remind these people of what they need to do for us before we get it?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. They need to like and subscribe. It helps us out. Click if you really like our stuff, you want to click that little bell and get notifications every time we do a new video.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what you're doing. I'm gonna give you like a half face, like a little half face. See how you're doing it? You're off screen a little bit.
Yeah.
Subscribe, like, I'll give you the whole face, and then I'm gonna give you the half face.
You're two halves of Melier's person.
And I won't give you the gas face, but I will give you the whole
No.
face.
So, which one of you two wants to go next? So, which one of you two wants to wrap it up?
Wrap it up,
Just
baby.
before, I might have to nip off now if that's okay, Henry. But it's been a great session anyway.
Heck yeah, it has.
Good
Yeah,
to see
okay.
you.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Justin.
Have a great
thanks all.
night.
Thanks, Briggy. I'll talk to you
Bye.
next time.
You
Cheers.
take care,
Bye-bye.
buddy.
Take it easy.
Rock on.
See you, Chuck.
Rock on. All right. So, what do you want to do?
I'll let you go next because Chuck's got a real big cult classic that I think would be a good way to end the bang.
So to wrap it up.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
That's kinda
my oldie is 1950s Destination Moon, and I thought I picked that one because it was completely ridiculous. And I thought it was like, no, I mean, I'm sure 1950s, it was probably like just, yes, more of this. But I really, no offense to anyone. I mean, let's not, I have to apologize. But anyway, so it starred John Archer, Jim Beam, Warner Anderson, and Tom Powers. Oh, and Dick Weisen. And it basically takes place here on Earth in the United States. And there is a big space program that the United States wants to get off the ground. And what they're saying is, look, we want to go to the moon because if we don't go to the moon, who's going to go to the moon, and then they will be able to
Not
colonize.
those.
Yes, yes. I know. Evil though they may be, we call those the hammer sickle people. So, so they're going to.
Oh, yes, the first Cold War. Back during the first Cold War.
Right.
Yes, the first one.
So they're doing their testing to go to the moon, and they have a rocket, and they're just testing to see exactly if they can, get it off the Earth and into the atmosphere. And while doing so, something happens and it explodes. And now they don't know what to do. So because this is a movie in the 1950s, what they decide to do is they go, listen, since government can't do anything right, which I just love now we kind of understand like how we got here. Okay. This is,
right.
But this isn't like in almost every movie, but they're like, the government can't do anything right. So let's go to private industry and we'll get them to build a rocket and they'll be able to, take us to the moon. And so they go to this guy who owns a hold on a second, I forget his name. In the movie, he owns this company, and they say, listen, we would like you to head this project. But he's like, look, I don't have enough money. So he goes, look, let's go talk to some investors. So they have this big meeting. They bring all of the big wigs and industry together to see if they could sell them on bankrolling this rocket that's going to go to the moon. And this is going to be a big thing, and the country will love them for it. And they're going to prove to the country that private industry is really the way to go. And this is going to be a fabulous thing. Well, they try to talk these businessmen into giving their money over to this project. And the way they do it, I thought was absolutely like if I had tons of cash and I wanted somebody to come and say, hey, listen, Ricky, can you pull your money and I'm like, you know what? Show me how you're going to do it. Well, the way they did it was they got a cartoon and they had Woody Woodpecker explain to them how they were going to take people to the moon. And it was this cartoon of Woody Woodpecker. And they kind of explained, you know, how they were going to get this rocket off the ground and how, you know, the Earth, how it's going to orbit uh, the moon and all of this stuff. So I thought that was actually kind of funny. And then after they watched the cartoon, they were like, you know what? Count me in. I love that. I'm gonna do it. You know, it was like that. I thought that was that's because that's how you would sell me on
Oh, of
something like
course.
right? Okay, so I'm not the only one. So so they managed to build this rocket, but then as they're building this rocket, there is concerned by the people that live in that town. And even though they did say, look, we have a 10-mile radius, the town was like, but look, there is radioactivity, there's like some fallout. We're concerned about this, and we don't want this happening. So they were unable, the rocket was ready, but they did not want it to go off in that area of the town. But mind you, they hadn't tested the rocket. They didn't have any astronauts. And so because there was an injunction by a judge that said they couldn't uh, execute the program, and they got wind of it. So the businessmen said, listen, we're not going to let them stop us. We should just jump into the rocket and just go to the moon ourselves. Like, why not? You know, so they decided we're going, and they all got into and the police cars are racing toward the rocket and to stop them, but they closed the doors already and they've already counted down, and the rocket just takes off and it starts going to the moon. And then mayhem ensues. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, do I continue on? Do I continue on? It's so fantastical. It's in Technicolor, so there's that.
Oh,
And
wow.
I thought, yeah, and I thought, oh, you know what? Um, Maybe there is hope for civilization if a bunch of you know, capitalist businessmen shot themselves to the moon. But didn't that already happen? I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't want
Right
to.
now, they're dying off because they keep shooting themselves to the bottom of the ocean.
I don't. You know, I don't want to.
Unfortunately, the ones who are shooting off into space have all survived.
They've also written them
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, wait till
So-
they get to the moon. Then
Right.
maybe we'll get lucky.
They won't be welcome back, believe me.
They will not be welcome back. I'm going to be like, do not come. Do not come. Anyway, so.
It's a good one.
So anyway, so they get to the moon, but while they're in flight, one of the people there who was an engineer, that when I mean engineer, I'm talking about somebody who just like puts the food in or whatever his little job was. He did something that like froze the door or froze a mechanism, and then they needed to go outside of the spacecraft and walk on the spacecraft. But he was like, "How are we going to do this? I mean, we're going to float away." And they're like, "No, no, no. We've got these, you know, these ropes, and we're going to tie you to the rope, and then and then you'll go out there and you'll fix whatever needs to be fixed."
Do they have space suits?
Yeah, they had spacesuits. They had the spacesuits. They had all that good stuff, which is like, you know, modern day kind of, you know, spacesuits. But here's the thing. The rope was not long enough. And, you know, I have a problem with that. Like, took me totally out of the moment. You know, like that part right there. Not the Woody Woodpecker thing, but that one that took me out of the moment. But so the rope wasn't long enough. So the guy goes, you know what? I'm just going to try to wing it. So he lets go of the rope. And then all of a sudden he floats out into space. And he's like, now he's floating and they have to capture him and, you know, bring him back, however they do that. Finally, they land on the moon, but they couldn't find any place that was stable enough to land. Long story short, I will just sort of cut to the chase. They used too much fuel, you know, in the landing, and then they couldn't take off when it was time to leave. So they needed to get rid of like 1,000 pounds worth of. I mean, we've heard this plot device before, right? Have we not? So they needed like 1,000 pounds they needed to get rid of. And they were able to do so, but they needed to get rid of an extra 145 pounds,
So they had to
and who
kill one of the crew members.
so one of the crew members, they were like,
I was
somebody's got
joking.
to, somebody has to stay. We got to get home. I got to roast in the oven. So, somebody's got to stay. And then they start fighting amongst each other, like, no, Jim, I've lived long enough. And, no, you've got a kid, Bart, you've got to go home. And, so it was like, so they sort of fight amongst each other. Meanwhile, while they're fighting, one of the astronauts just puts on a suit and leaves and says, okay, I'm out. There's nothing you can do now. I'm going to stay. And then they're all like, no, you gotta get back in. You can't. But I'm going to stop there because I want you to go and discover what happens to.
We
I'm
can
a
make
good
it that
cliff-
far.
I'm a cliffhanger gal. There's a saying, always leave them wanting more. Well,
Yes.
somebody coughs into the. Yeah, right. Okay.
Selling the sizzle, not the steak.
Right. So, but anyway, it was a pretty campy sci-fi. It totally was a campy sci-fi, but I did like the fact that it was so absolutely ridiculous. It was so simplistic, and that really is a sort of a time capsule into the minds of the people who not only made the movie, but the people who watched the movie, because it was early enough with that type of storyline where people were very excited because space travel was such a new concept in many ways. It's like seeing the original King Kong, like the claymation and stuff. So people were very, very taken with that. And that movie did very well for the time. So check it out.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Oh, so you did see, so you know how it ends.
No, I don't remember how it ends.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember everything.
Maybe you'll watch that movie and then
It's on like every streaming service I'm on. So,
is it really?
I mean, it's on Plex. It's on Tubi. It's on YouTube. I don't think it's on Prime. Amazon Prime doesn't really have anything that isn't new. They can't charge you a ton of money for.
Yeah. So yeah, but I thought it was very fast. It was only like an hour and maybe 15 minutes, maybe something like that, 20 minutes. Here is really the thing that I really thought was just so rich. So they're on the moon. They've just landed. They're now outside of the spacecraft and they're on the moon. And so two of the characters are getting ready to go and hang out with the other two characters who are already exploring the terrain of the moon. And one of the characters says, no, wait a minute. And he says, in the name of God, in the name of the United States, I claim this planet. And I said, oh, you fucking colonizer. You know what I mean? It was like,
Yes.
it was like, are you really serious? You're gonna claim an entire planet in the name of God? I thought that was just it was just of the day. It was just of the time and of the day.
Hey, that's still the way the US rolls, man.
Yeah, but I just was so shocked I mean, I'm not canceling anybody. I'm old enough to accept, you know what I mean? I'm old enough to accept that. Yeah, but he was like serious. He was like, in the name of God, in the name of the United States, I claim this planet. And it's like, oh shit. Okay. And everything on it.
Manifest destiny, I think is what they used to call it.
I think that's what they called it.
Once upon a time.
Mm.
AKA wipe out the Indians and take everything.
And take it all. I understand. Believe me, I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for colonialism. You and I would not be friends today. So there's an upside to being kidnapped. All right, so let's move on.
Well, I mean, my great grandmother was Cherokee, so I mean,
Oh, okay.
So
Everyone's
I
great
wouldn't
great
be here
grandmother
either. So yeah,
is Cherokee. Well, that's a whole other story.
I know
But you're
everyone
right.
else's,
You're
everyone's
right. You're
is,
right.
but in the
Yeah. Yeah.
South, it is very common. Seriously,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my ancestors had it easy. We just indentured ourselves, on a boat.
Got it. Got it.
Dentured
Got it.
servants, I believe we were
Insured
called.
servants.
And this is what you're doing with your life after there's sacrifice, talking to people on a
Yeah,
podcast.
ain't life crazy?
Thank you, Briggy.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm again another Friday, another energized. Next Friday, I may not be as upbeat,
We won't be
but
doing this next Friday. We're taking that week off. We're back to actually taking a week off sometimes. Now
oh,
that we've
okay.
actually got back to actually doing Fridays again, which took us a few weeks to get back into, but we're
Yeah.
actually going to take a Friday off. Chuck is going
Okay.
to be dealing with something, which I hope he
Okay.
comes through okay with.
Okay.
Yeah, me
Sure.
too.
Okay. So whenever we do it, we do it.
August 9th.
Okay.
So Chuck, oh, by the way, people, like and subscribe. We really need the help. I mean, really, really need the help badly. So thank you ahead of time.
Everybody hates us.
Well, not everybody, but not enough people.
Well,
Not enough people love us. That's the thing.
they hate y'all, but they
Uh,
love you.
yeah, you're their
Speak for
favorite.
yourself. Oh, really? Okay.
What would you like to wrap up this session with, Mr. Roberts?
Okay. Well, what I would like to wrap things up with is one that a lot of folks may not immediately realize is sci-fi. Maybe it's sci-fi in kind of a loose sort of capacity.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
But this is actually one of my favorite comedies of all time.
One of mine too.
And to kind of intro Repo Man for you, it was
Repo Man.
1984.
Repo Man's always intense.
84. Oh, Life of a Repo Man is always intense. This was kind of prefaced to me. I kind of knew there was a movie kicking around out there called Repo Man. It had something to do with aliens, I think. But it was my cousin who historically has turned me on to a lot of different stuff. And he and I were kind of old headbangers that were kind of, getting into the punk scene at this point, a little late in the day. And I was just hitting the point where I was about ready to embrace hardcore. And so he said, yeah, so this great movie called Repo Man, you got to check it out. Yeah, this is like a real kind of punk rock movie. And it's like, they aren't these, the characters are not like these fops who, go around with funny haircuts and listen to modern English. They're getting in slam dances, and they're, just literally like scary, dangerous people who are going out and knocking over liquor stores. And so this is the real deal. And he told me a bunch of other stuff, and I was like, oh, I got to see this one. This was playing. I could go see it. It was out in Boston. I was kind of way off in the suburbs of New Hampshire at the time. And so, there wasn't much of access for me at that time to go to this place to go see where it might be showing. Fortunately, because things were kind of moving fast, especially if you weren't a big budget colossal hit, to where it started popping up on cable pretty damn soon after that.
Yeah.
And so Repo Man makes it to HBO, and I was really hyped to see that. And so I sat down with it, and it was me, my younger brother, and my stepdad, who for whatever reason was interested in it. But we watched this movie. My stepdad was absolutely incredulous throughout the whole thing. What the hell is this movie? And he was horrified at almost every turn. There was one point where he pointed out a joke that my brother and I completely missed, and that was because there were just so many things hitting that we were going to laugh over something. And so yeah, it was a funny joke, but it kind of flew right by us. And anyway, so Repo Man, directed by Alex Cox, who would go on to direct Sid and Nancy and a lot of other flicks. Kind of he had kind of a punk rock background. He was kind of known to hang with folks on the punk scene. I think dealt with the Ramones a lot. Kind of dealt with. I think he was kind of envisioning Sid and Nancy for quite some time, and he was kind of in the background, sort of working on that.
And he's Scottish, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
But he was, but he created this movie, and the setup for this flick is you've got a highway, out in the desert going toward Los Angeles somewhere, and this motorcycle cop pulls over this guy who's driving very erratically, and you see the guy, and he's just this festering, gibbering madman with like sunglasses. One of the lenses is out, and he just looks completely out of it. It's played by the great Fox Harris. And he says, "What are you doing? What are you all about?" And he says, "I'm going to have to take a look in your trunk." And the guy just kind of looks up and says, "Oh, you don't want to look in there," which is, of course, the dead giveaway that, yeah, you definitely want to look in there, or do you? So he pops the trunk, hood flies open, the big glowing light comes blasting out of the trunk. Cop is disintegrated. Trunk closes, and the vehicle just starts moving again, leaving behind the motorcycle cop's boots, which are just sitting there in the middle of the ground with just smoke coming out of them. And welcome to Repo Man. So Repo Man kind of has that going on in the background, but it mainly follows this young, shiftless, aimless punk named Otto, who kind of bounces, played by Emilio Estevez, who kind of bounces from thing to thing. He's, I think, working in a grocery store with his nerdy little buddy, who's played by Xander Schloss from the Circle Jerks. And, he shows insubordination there, gets thrown out, gets fired.
Got a bad attitude.
He's got a bad attitude. Goes and his buddy Duke gets out of juvie, and they hang out and they go, moshing in the parking lot and whatever. And then he turns around and finds Duke messing with his girlfriend, and he gets up and leaves, and he's all crestfallen, and he doesn't know what to do. And he goes home, and his parents are like these kind of zombified hippie boomers, and they're vegging out on TV watching this televangelist, Reverend Larry, proclaiming the chariots of God, join the chariots of God, send me money, blah, blah, blah. And grabs a can of food out of the fridge and starts spooning that out and eating it. And everything, there's a running joke in the movie where everything's a generic product. There's a generic can of food that's just labeled food. There's generic drinks. They're just labeled either drink or beer. Everything's generic products as far as the eye can see. Later on, there are all these federal agents running around, and they've all got kind of uniformly got this blonde hair. They're all generic too. And Otto is just disaffected. He's walking down the street, and this car pulls up, and it's Harry Dean Stanton. And he says, he cajoles him into stealing a car. And he just tricks him into stealing a car and driving it to a repo lot. And Bud.
Did you froze, or is he frozen to you too?
Yeah, he's frozen here too.
Uh-oh. Aliens.
Oh.
The government is getting us, Chuck.
Oh, it's too much. It's too much information.
That's right.
Way too much information. The show's too hot for the internet.
Too hot to handle.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's muted.
Oh no. They're
Here we are.
neutralize him.
Oh, he's coming back. Okay.
We're back. Okay, we shut off.
You repoed.
We were off for a minute,
Yeah.
but we're
Yeah, we all
back.
got
You won't
repoed.
believe the dead are raising. Oh,
Okay, what was the last thing you heard?
It was about hold on. His friend fucked his girlfriend, and then the car thing.
Yeah. Okay, so he gets tricked into stealing this car.
Yes, stealing a car.
Follows Harry Dean Stanton to this repo lot, and takes him inside. They get handed a bunch of money. He gets handed a bunch of money, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are repo men." And he says, "Fuck you guys." It pours beer out on the floor, and they hand him a bunch of money, and they said, "Well, now you're a repo man too." And
he's so defiant.
Yeah, so feudally defiant, but
rebel.
so he ends up joining the repo operation, and just crazy cast of characters that are populating the whole thing. You got Bud, played by Harry Dean Stanton, who's terrific. He's like a just this talking hatchet or something. And just spouting, just snorting speed and spouting about the repo code. And
I mentioned one of those characters earlier, one of those actors earlier, when we were discussing Carl Lumbly and his late wife.
Yes, you mentioned Vanetta McGee, and she's one of the characters.
And he cast her because he was a huge fan of The Great Silence.
Yes. And the LaRonde effect. You can always depend upon it.
Absolutely.
But she's in there, and she's part of the whole thing. And they got, the late great Tracy Walter as Miller, who's just this kind of burned out crazy man spouting UFO theories as he burns trash from the cars. You've got Cy Richardson playing Light, who's also one of the main repo guys.
I love Cy Richardson.
Just always going off about how he's playing songs by this funk band called the Juicy Fruits, and talking about how these guys asked me to manage them, but I was like, fuck that shit. And oh god, let me think, guys. Some cat named Pletchner who's like a rent-a-cop and basically does nothing but sit around on coffee break, swilling coffee and just spouting whatever macho BS he's got at the moment. They usually just tell him to shut up. But so he kind of gets involved in the whole repo life and kind of gets in that whole thing. Meanwhile, the Chevy Malibu, who we saw roast a cop toward the beginning, is just kind of slowly doddering down the street, and suddenly it comes up as a vehicle they should try to repo. And then there's this other group called this other repo outfit called the Rodriguez brothers, who they're in competition with. And they're after the Malibu, and Otto and his crew are after the Malibu. And the federal agents all come in and they're after the Malibu, and Otto gets his girlfriend who's part of a UFO cult, and they're all after the Malibu. And it all winds up this huge convoluted plot that goes completely off the edge, where everybody's switching sides and suddenly everyone's a double agent for this or that person. And everybody's after the Malibu with, Fox Harris driving around erratically in that's where he's slowly dying of radiation sickness. And it's supposedly the whole plot comes up, and here's a science fiction element that these what's supposedly that thing that's roasting everybody is dead aliens in the back seat, and they're radiating alien energy and killing people or whatever. And just the movie just goes kind of over a cliff at that point, and it just I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it's pretty hysterical.
Yes, it is.
But great stuff. The thing that grabbed me about this movie is just the absolute nihilism of it. And the fact that it just goes so far as to, I don't know, it's almost like at the time this came out, things like, I don't know, there was always like a buzz phrase or a catchphrase in movies and elsewhere in popular culture. And so in this era of Sean Penn in Fast Times at Ridgemont High being like, "Hey bud, let's party," and
right.
And then you get Clara Peller screaming, "Where's the beef?" And then somewhere in there during all the and with Repo Man you get Otto, whose catchiest line is "fuck you, queer." So
creative.
It's a movie that gives no fucks. I guess one point is somewhere toward the end, Otto and Bud go into a liquor store with all the generic products, and it's being held up by Otto's old buddy Duke and Otto's ex-girlfriend and this other guy. Or no, the other guy's been roasted at this point. But they're holding up a liquor store, and suddenly it's like, oh, wait a minute, these are my old friends. Yeah, fuck you, Otto. And through a slight mishap, it all ends up in this huge, violent, gory shootout with a lot of stuff destroyed, people dying and bleeding all over the place. And it ends up with Otto just sitting over Duke, trying to pull him together. And he's like, I know it was a life of crime that brought me to this, and and it hurts, and Otto is just like, hey man, come on, cool it. You're a punk from the suburbs. You're gonna be okay. And he starts gagging and choking and dying. He says, oh, well, maybe you won't. And he drops him, crunch, and just takes off. It's like this movie just revels in the fact that it does not have a heart. But
that's pretty harsh.
But having seen interviews with Alex Cox, and he was talking about basically the idea, I think, of just the scientist who helped develop the neutron bomb, who was so racked up with guilt over what he'd done that he gets a lobotomy, and so now this poor sad guy who developed the neutron bomb that really racked up his conscience is driving around lobotomized with these aliens in his back seat.
Oh God!
And I guess the words and the I don't know, stories told by the guy who actually helped design the neutron bomb were kind of the inspiration for all this.
Oh, really?
That's what Cox was saying, something to that effect.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
But
which guy is this who created the neutron bomb?
Huh?
Which guy is this who created the neutron bomb?
Oh yeah, I don't even remember his name. But it's it's the Fox Harris character. It's the guy. It's the guy
Oh.
driving the Chevy Malibu.
So is he playing a real historical character or?
I think he was playing a fictional character that was kind of partially based on that guy.
Okay. Gotcha. I forgot that little salient point.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
No, it's all right. But and
I have a gift for you, Chuck.
what's that?
I'm gonna see if it works or not. There, and I'm gonna take it out of it. Take us out of it.
Oh, that's
Yeah, how do you end the screen share? Stop the share now. Okay, there you go.
I feel like we're opening up whole new avenues here for a later show.
Chuck, you have any final thoughts on Repo Man?
Not a whole lot. Catch it; it'll get in your brain. It'll never get out.
That's the
it's
damn
like
truth. Do you like it? Do you like it, Briggy?
I haven't seen Repo Man in so many years. I can't even. If I saw it, it would probably show up as a new movie in my memory bank because
That
I
could be
haven't seen
exciting.
it. Yeah, I haven't. And you know what's so cool? Quite honestly, about movies that you've watched and then you don't watch them for like another, like say 10 years, I would say, is that because you've changed so much, the movie has a different level of meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I love that, or things that you didn't understand or didn't catch, like watching that movie, Destination Moon. Okay, so I wasn't born in the 1950s, but I do understand the sensibilities of the time based on the things that were being said, as compared to the things that are being said today. And it seems as though that was the jumping off point to how many people think today, because it's been impregnated in so many of the movies. Like we've got to get to the moon before the Russians get there, and the Russians, oddly enough, are still the evil enemies of America. So it just seems like, if you watch a movie, so I will rewatch Repo Man. I think it would be enjoyable. So I would like it. Sure, I'd watch it again.
Yeah, I don't own it anymore. Well, actually, I do have a copy of it, but I can't sell it because the whole slip that goes in it, the artwork and everything is like totally trashed from water damage. The DVD's okay, but I'll get the Criterion Blu-ray eventually, but I'm not in a hurry.
It's good stuff.
I've got a budget. Do you have that one?
Oh yeah.
I'm figured. Pretty wild cover.
Yeah, that was a Christmas present to me a couple of years ago.
Very well done there. So listen, we're going to wrap up another session of alternative sci-fi films.
Yeah.
There may be more ahead. It may have this lineup. It may have a different lineup. It could be like, a lot of old rock bands, they don't know from album to album who's going to be playing on it, but like, Richie Blackmore, from album to album, who's going to be in his band. So,
oh yeah. Well, you can take a look at any picture of Rainbow and you can see, here's a picture of Richie and here are the other four guys. And it's kind of like, okay, you see him going with his magic finger. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
Yes, except I'm not firing anybody. It's just a matter of scheduling. So we may give some other folks an opportunity to throw out some of them have been people who are not able to make these have been throwing out alternative sci-fi things to me. Okay, so that's it for today with alternative science fiction. This topic will be back in another incarnation or another in the near future. And stay tuned. We've got a lot more ahead. And before we sign off, my compatriots here would like to remind you of some very important things.
Oh, what? Oh, yes. Lost. And tune in next time.
What about you, Chuck?
Don't forget to Lost.
Yes. Click. Yep. Press all the buttons. Click.
Like and subscribe.
Click, like, subscribe. Click that little bell thingy. That way you always know when our new videos come up.
That's right.
It's gonna be the bomb.
Hell yeah. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.